you're very welcome to today's webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Leech and I'm a product marketing manager here at LearnUpon. You've probably seen me on a couple of webinars. If you haven't and this is your first one, great, buckle up. We have a great session here today. I've been with LearnUpon for the past year and a half, and during that time, I've had the opportunity to work with some people across our organization and customer community who are deeply passionate about customer education. And some of those are on our call today. So, very, very excited to introduce them to you. Great. Okay. So, I'm going to hand over to our panelists, starting with Marni, and let her introduce herself.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Marni Stewart. I am the Client Enablement Manager at GWorks, and we offer accounting and city management software for small cities in the United States. I have been in this industry for about 15 years now, so I have a lot of experience working with our client base. I started in technical writing, I did support, and now I'm focused on delivering education to our clients and helping them make the most of our software. So I'm glad to be here today.
Great. Thanks, Marni. Gwenda, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm also super happy to be here. I'm Gwenda. I'm the head of product enablement at Landsweeper. And Landsweeper is a technology asset intelligence platform. And what that means in practice is that we help organizations discover and make sense of every technology asset that they have, and we turn that into a single trusted source of truth. I've been at Landsweeper for about 4.5 years. We have a small team, all added together, about 5 FTEs. And together we're responsible for enabling all our audiences. And therefore, we launched our Customer Academy on LearnUpon about 3.5 months ago. And today I'm happy to share what we saw, what's working, what the data is telling us, and honestly, what we're still figuring out.
Great. Thanks, Gwenda. And Frances.
Yes. Hi, all. I'm Frances Kleven. I oversee our core customer experience at LearnUpon. So that's our implementation team, our customer success managers, and also our customer community. I know Marni quite well. We were on a panel together at our last customer conference in Florida. So we look forward to seeing everyone at our conference this year in Chicago. And Gwenda, I know from a pre-sales call where we joined to discuss their plans for their customer academy. But I'm delighted to be on this call wearing the hat of someone who talks to our customers all about their customer academies, but also oversees a customer academy. And so get to be both a consultant and a practitioner here. And so really, really excited about this discussion.
Great, likewise. So I'm really excited to dive into some questions, but for our audience here today, I want to kind of learn more about you and learn about what's your biggest challenge you face when setting up customer onboarding program. So I'm going to launch a quick poll if you want to just fill that all out on your screens. I'll give you a couple of seconds and then we're going to dive into how we can improve one-to-one onboarding and understand where your pains are. Okay, I see a couple of responses coming in. Great. I'll give it a couple more seconds. Okay, we've got a lot on. It's too time intensive to create and maintain content. Well, we might have a tool for you on that. Inconsistency delivery across customers, a good few around there, and engagement drops off after kickoff. So, okay, we've got some nice responses there. I'm going to end the poll. Great. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I really want this to be a discussion today and to leverage our panelists here and get into some questions. So the first question I have here today on our call is about onboarding, hence our lovely title today. But one-to-one onboarding is is a growth ceiling. And I'd love to understand from our panelists today, Marnie and Gwenda, what were the first warning signs that promoted you to realize that your manual module had officially like hit its limits and we needed to restructure?
I
You
can
want to go first?
Sure,
Yeah.
I can speak to that. So we're kind of in a unique situation in that we're in the process of kind of building our second iteration of our customer academy. We started our first customer academy about 6 years ago, and we realized that we were hitting our limit then because we had just been acquired by a new company. Their model was a little bit different from our previous one, and they were kind of like, hey, we can't sustain this. We can't keep up this one-to-one, which is why they tasked me with building the Client Academy. And that was our kind of our first iteration. It was very successful. As a lot of people, if you've seen my customer story, our tickets dropped 19% after we um, got it fully launched, so it made a huge difference. But now we're on round two because we have a variety of legacy products that we are working to migrate to our new cloud-based platform. And so from the beginning, we knew that that one-to-one model wasn't going to work for us because we just had too many people that we needed to get into our cloud product in a short period of time because a lot of our legacy products, those support personnel, they're starting to retire. They've been working on, we have one of our desktop, or actually two of our desktop products are written in COBOL. So we we had to figure out how can we do this in a scalable way. And so, doing a customer academy was the obvious choice for us, considering how successful we were the first time.
Great. Thanks, Marnie. That was great. And yeah, if you haven't seen Marnie's story, we have a beautiful customer story that talks all about decreasing tickets. What about you, Gwenda? Any thoughts?
Um, yeah, in our organization, there were several changes that were happening at the same time. Um, our product moved from a tool to a platform. And everybody now goes, how doesn't everybody does that? But what it meant for us was that where we attracted small and mid-sized companies before, we were now attracting enterprise customers. So we changed the model of how we serve customers, that our customer success managers serve our enterprise customers, and the small and mid-market had to be served in a scalable way. And that's how we decided to set up the academy and to help our customers along the way so that we can provide services to both groups of audiences, bringing small and mid-sized together roughly and keeping enterprise to the side. And that the enterprise ones are the ones that are being served one-on-one, which allowed us to not grow in employees as rapidly as we would have if we didn't choose the scalable model.
Laura, can I just chime in on that one?
Of course.
So I was just thinking about this yesterday of the growth ceiling, and I always hate to admit when there's things I didn't anticipate, but there obviously always are. But I think as software is changing too and becoming and our product is becoming more sophisticated, but the standards have changed about the need to integrate with it. So any new feature and its need to integrate with other tools and its need to be complex and sophisticated because software and businesses have become more complex and sophisticated. I don't think I thought about onboarding and where we were hitting a growth ceiling, not with our new customers, but with there's actually like a need now for mini onboarding for all new features in a way that there was not 5 years ago. That you could have a base level of expertise in the platform and learn new products quite easily and not need onboarding on them. But I think that has changed. And so now I'm thinking about that ceiling of how do we provide onboarding services throughout a customer's life cycle outside of just that first implementation when they become a new customer. And it feels very overwhelming, but I'm also there's some exciting things coming from it. Like, how would we do that? Because we need to do that.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is powering that, Frances, to have more expertise on those features? And Marnie and Gwenda, feel free to chime in as well. What do you think is driving that?
I mean, the part I'm proud of is that we're releasing better and more sophisticated features with Learn Upon. Marnie, to your point of sometimes now that's coming with deprecation of old features. And so there's a need to create onboarding materials that are different than just product education, that are the actual content to onboard someone onto and sort of help with the process, help with the thought partnership in ways that you would do in face-to-face implementation.
I definitely can relate to that. I think especially since we have we have a similar situation, but for a different reason, I guess, because we have multiple legacy products that we're moving to one platform. We're constantly running into new features that, oh, we need this for parity for this swath of population. And so then when you have that, even though it might be a parity feature for XYZ, that doesn't mean that other clients won't want it, won't use it, won't need it. And so then how do you help them set stuff up so that it's not just a one-to-one and it doesn't just fall on support? And so we've definitely been talking about what does that look like and how do we create something that allows for that throughout their life cycle. And I'm leaning pretty heavily into micro learning. That's the direction I'm definitely thinking we're going to go. And then probably, which we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, but we have an integration with HubSpot that really helps us with automation. And I think that with our integration with Pindo, those two are going to help us kind of create that, like, okay, you are somebody who might need this feature. Here is a course that you can go take to learn how to set it up. And that's kind of the path I'm at the beginning of figuring out, I would say.
I can add to that. We are in the same boat when it comes to that. We see our learning content as Lego building blocks.
Yes.
Because a
Yep.
customer who has a different environment and different needs still needs bits and pieces from our product to achieve the goal that they need. So we try to work in Lego blocks, and the more we turn those into micro learnings, the easier it is to change them when something changes. Well, if you have these large trainings, it becomes more difficult to make the changes that you would like to make. And that is, you were talking about what makes the world today so much more complex is that our technology is like a conduit to other uh, tools in the IT stack of our customers. So it can be used in so many more different ways. And we will also be using Pendo to figure out what are you using particularly and what training would be on point for you as a customer in that particular context.
Yeah, we love Pendo. We're big Pendo users here in Learn Upon. We're so passionate about it. I think like that they're all amazing things that we're doing in the customer education space, but how would you manage balance it with like a kind of like a self-serve education, balancing with like does that feel less premium to the customer? Like how do you deliver that customer high value customer experience? Because I learn upon like we put customers at the center of everything we do. So I think balancing that while scaling our programs is something we're looking into as well. Would you agree, Francis?
Yeah, and I think about it a lot, both as somebody overseeing a customer education team, but I also think about it as I'm a software administrator for tools myself. So I sit on that side, and I think a lot about what do I want and what do I need to be able to administer this software. And I think about the tools that we use and a CXP, that our customer experience platform. And so I think a lot about how I interact with their digital resources and then also with their in-person team. And there are things that I do not want human support for. I want fast, like, but I want fast and good. So, because fast doesn't mean that I get an answer quickly. Fast means I get the answer I need quickly. And so I really lean into their AI bot there, which is excellent. And so I've thought a lot about this. I don't want a human in this. I'm sitting at my desk. I have 20 minutes to create a dashboard, and I need immediate responses that guide me into doing that. And then I want a human response when there is an initiative of we'd like to set up some best practices about how managers are using this tool. And I'd like to bring my managers to a meeting with our customer success manager to talk through best practices and to agree on how we're setting that up. And I'm looking for guidance and consultation there. And so I'm trying to use that to think about our own customer education offerings of where do we need to have fast and good responses, and then where do we need to say this is a problem solving conversation, this is consultative, because I think people sometimes still are thinking human is faster. And that's not necessarily true, but it's also not true that AI is always better. And so really there's a piece of both defining that for ourselves, and then we also, the panelists, we were all talking about this before the call, there's also a need to educate customers on that of and we really need to be thought leaders here and pushing them to that. This is when it's appropriate to use this resource, and this is when we really insist on you using this resource.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think everything's moving fast. Marnie, how would you feel? How do you feel? Any thoughts on that regarding like your customer experience versus your
Yeah.
self-serve?
That's definitely something that we are constantly making sure we have in the right place, so to speak. So one of the things is that our customer base tends to be less tech savvy than most. We have a lot of very, very busy people who, at the end of the day, really would prefer to just pick up the phone and actually talk to someone on the phone. Like that really is their preference. And so how do you find that balance? Because obviously that isn't scalable, and that's the thing we're trying to solve for, while still making them feel like they do have that connection and that one-to-one, which is important to them. And so what we've really focused on is providing our customer academy to give the basics of how things function so that when they have that one-to-one time as they're onboarding, as they're talking to support, they're focusing on how do we tailor this for you specifically. And so it's less about how do you use these features, because by this point we're trying to get them familiar with it. One of the programs we're working on is daily micro learning, so that it's just 5 minutes, come in, get
Yeah.
used to this program. And then when it comes time for their one-on-one where they're like fine tuning it, it's not a one-on-one of this is how you use the product. It's okay, what things do you need to do that you haven't learned yet? And how can we show you how to do those things? And that's really kind of the route we're going. And so far we've gotten really good results. We just launched it last month, so we're still in the very infancy phases, but we had someone accidentally get enrolled in courses for products they don't have, and they loved them so much that they were like, where are those courses for our product? And we're like, we're working on them. So it's definitely, we'll never get away from the one-to-one. It's just, can we minimize it so that it's more scalable, and not have that be the bulk of the training?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one-to-one leads to like a more coaching, consultative approach. And also, it's more personalized. If we can give them what they need before, then they're getting more personalized training for sure. Francis, I want to, because Marnie mentioned creating courses, and you mentioned that AI doesn't always mean good and human doesn't always mean fast. But I want to touch back on the poll and around content creation because most teams do struggle with content creation. It's a beast in itself. And I want to kind of put it to the team here about like how do we keep up with content creation? How do we decide what to build first? What's the key priority?
Yeah. So struggling with content creation is not new. So that's always been the blocker, both again for our own customer education strategy, but it's a thing that keeps me up at night for a reason that we see customers leave Learn Upon is because they haven't successfully launched their academy because they didn't have content or couldn't keep up with content. Um, But there also, I think about this example and have been evangelizing it across my team over the last couple of weeks of I sat on a training call with a customer and it was in our implementation and it was a 60-minute training call, part of our normal onboarding process. It was a great call. It was really collaborative. It was all the things you would want from a call. And the customer afterwards said, and I love her for this, said, can you please send me the recording and the knowledge base link and the course in your academy so that I have all the resources I need to put in place this session, which dream customer, like what an angel to have said, I understand that this in-person training was a one-time limited resource. And so I want to make sure like that's the dream. But I thought about what I would have to send her to cover what we taught, what she learned in that hour session. And it was the recording, which a horrible resource. Like, what a horrible resource to have to go fish in your inbox for the Zoom recording and find the exact place.
Yeah.
And it was because we covered a process, not a feature. So we would have to send her 7 knowledge base links and 5 courses in our academy just to cover what we taught and went over in that training session. And I just was horrified. And so at the time, we were launching our Create Plus tool, which is our AI content generation tool. And I dumped in the Zoom recording. And in 5 minutes, it was uploaded. In 2 minutes, I'd set my parameters for the course. And so in 7 minutes, a course was built around the training session we had done. And it wasn't a course about a feature, and it wasn't a course, and it wasn't knowledge-based articles. It was a custom, this is how you build what we, and so in this case, it was building a hybrid live learning event. And this is how you do this for your particular instance. And so it really, I'm starting to wrap my head around of what that type of tool could mean for how we take our human resources and use AI to turn them into highly bespoke, highly valuable, high quality content. The questions that were generated in that were not just correct. I was surprised how correct they were, but they were pedagogically sound. They were questions that were asking about points that we had covered around, remember why this is important to do this, or this is why we're doing it this way. And it created questions that reinforced that. And it called out all of the important things from that session. And it was now a 7-minute course that was a reflection and a resource from that training. And so I don't have all the answers around exactly how we unleash this to really drive our content creation, but I'm really thinking this is a world in which now we can take these great materials that people, support teams, implementation teams, customer success teams, these great screen share recordings that they do and trainings with their customers, and actually take that and create content within minutes. And I'm so excited about that and realize what that's unlocked that wasn't available to even, I wasn't thinking about even 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. I can hand on heart. I actually even used it for our SKO, which was last week,
Yes.
and it spat out some courses that probably would have taken me since September to draft. So, yeah, do you think, Francis, you will need a tool always for like, so I'm trying to think if I'm a first time academy setup, and Marnie, you can definitely jump in here from 2 years ago. Do you think this tool is like a necessity? Do you think a content creation tool is a necessity for you to get off the ground quicker? I'm just trying to speak to those that may not have this installed or may not
Yeah.
have something set up.
I mean, think about the years that I've been talking to customers about this, and it was probably 3 years ago that I finally for myself drew a line in the sand and started saying to customers, you cannot launch an academy without an authoring tool. Like this is not something that you can do with just PDFs and videos. You need an authoring tool for quality and for scale. So that part's not new. Um, those courses were still take uh days, maybe if you're lucky, take half a day, but they take days to create. And this now was a tool that was minutes, and not just minutes and then review and refine and revise and change all the things that it got wrong. It actually was minutes to a quality and an accuracy that I didn't feel I needed to review. And that part to me is, again, I'm kind of wrapping my head around what would it mean if we can create content in 7 minutes, because I have 7 minutes, everybody on my team has 7 minutes. The truth is they don't have an hour, and they certainly don't have half a day, but they don't have an hour. I don't have an hour. But I do have 7 minutes.
I will say it does also make me think about what we could create just from all of the catalog of stuff that we
Yes.
already have
Yes.
because everything's recorded.
Yes.
All of those previous onboarding calls, they're all recorded. And they also think, because we also have an internal academy as well. Like we do both external and internal. And I think about like all of the different training sessions that our internal teams have recorded. And it's like you go from having a library of videos to having a library of interactive courses. I mean, that would be a game changer, I think, for most um, customer and employee academies, honestly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have some questions on HubSpot, so I'm conscious I don't want to yap away on AI content authoring. You'll get me here all day. But I have a question on Megan, and she said she'd love to connect with Marnie around HubSpot connections and learner onboarding journeys. So Marnie, I think my next question was actually for you is like, what's one specific HubSpot workflow that has like saved your team hours and has been incredible for you?
Uh, so HubSpot being able to create users was our game changer. Because prior to that, it was every time somebody needed any kind of training, and that could be legacy people who were going to our old academy, that could be our onboarding staff, that and for frame of reference, our industry unfortunately has a lot of turnover with our client base. So even once somebody has been onboarded, it's not uncommon for us to need to enroll people in courses because there's been turnover. There's a new city clerk, and so now they need to get training. And having HubSpot be able to just create um, the accounts like that saves so much of my time because we tried to get them to manually upload. That was not that
Fun.
just ended up being me doing support for our internal teams a lot. And so now they go to the contact record in HubSpot. We have a property set up with a workflow, and when they click it, it sends an email welcoming the customer. It sends over all of the information we need for our CUD fields, and then that puts them in the groups, and they can even select what training they want. So it's going to auto enroll them as well. And that's that. I mean, I can't even tell you how much time that saved me. I don't even know how to quantify it. That's how much it's been.
Amazing.
Marty, I actually just had a question for you around, because I'm thinking about this too, but of just making sure they're enrolled in the right courses. Do you think there's been a shift in just like obviously it's saving admin time, but if you think about everybody has less time, and so for your customers themselves, like do they also have less time, or are you thinking about that automation of they just need to be put in the course that they need, and that there's less of an appetite for let me just browse around for what I want?
Yes, 100%. And our clients, again, they aren't as tech savvy, often struggle just to find the catalog. So when they get an email that says you've been enrolled in this course, click on it to start, that's where we see the most engagement. When they just get set up and then they're supposed to go to the catalog, we don't see people really enrolling nearly as much in that scenario. So being able to have our staff be like, I know this is the training they need, and then have it automatically enroll makes a huge difference.
But Marnie, would you say when you were considering Learn Upon that that was like a deal breaker for you around HubSpot? Like, tell us a little bit about like that integration because there's a lot of
Sure.
learning platforms out there that integrate with HubSpot. Not all of them have the most intuitive one, so I'm curious to see where that was with you.
Well, we actually had Learn Upon before HubSpot. So we picked Learn Upon for a number of reasons, but at the time that was still all manual, and I manually, or I was the admin for everything, and it was just people emailing me, I want training, or this person needs training, and me enrolling them. Um, but I would say it was more of the reverse. We had HubSpot for our CRM, and we were discussing using it as a project management tool for our implementation. And the integration with Learn Upon was a big reason why we decided to go that route versus another route, because we saw how it was going to be able to help save time. And we even have it so that during the implementation process itself, when they complete certain tasks, it will go ahead and enroll the clients in certain courses. So it really was a big reason why we ended up going that route. And now HubSpot will end up being kind of like our source of truth data wise. But if it didn't have that implementation or that integration, we wouldn't have ever gone that route for our onboarding team.
Amazing. Gwenda, I know you don't use HubSpot, but how are you thinking about content creation and how is it working for you now that you've set it? I know you're only 3 months with Learn Upon, but have you anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we built our library of trainings
Yeah.
before we joined Learn Upon. Um, and the reason why we did that was when we were trying to select an LMS, the question we or the comment we got was, once you have implemented the tool, you can upload your library of trainings. And all I thought back then, what library? I don't have a library. I don't even have a shelf of training. So we decided to focus on building the content and then, continue the conversations. And the group became smaller and smaller. And obviously, we chose Learn Upon. Um, the way we created our content was a cross-reference with what it is that a technical success manager needs to know to be able to do their job. And that's so we understand thoroughly what a technical success manager does in the consulting with customers to get them up and running. And we structured our materials as such, like how do you think about your environment? What is it that you need to do to get set up for success? And then how do you administer the platform and get the value out of it? So it was those two things that allowed us to build that library of trainings. And now our primary focus in the first months, and I know that will change, but our primary focus is that our automations come out of Gainsight. So when a customer joins, they are automatically they're automatically added to an email series, and in that email series, the academy is standard part of it. As soon as someone clicks on the academy, they get auto enrolled in a series of courses, and that ups the numbers of auto enrollments substantially. However, it allows us to really present what we want to present to a new customer, what is of value for them in the phase that they are in.
Love it. And do you think, Gwenda, like what would be kind of your biggest outcomes around this program for the next year, or have you defined them yet? Like, are you going to measure it on enrollments? Like, is it saving time for the CS team? What would you say? Because you're 3 months in now, so I'm curious to hear your outcomes versus like Marnie's been here 2 years, and just to see how the growth is, pictured.
Yeah, I can say we have around 15,000 customers, and right now, and customers, doesn't equal users, but right now and I'm looking at the data as we speak, we have around 2,500 unique learners in the platform over the course of 3.5 months. So we're super proud about that. We also noticed that, not because someone clicked on it, they're taking a course, but we do know that when they do take a course, almost 70% of those people finish the course. And that is super important. So the next step for 2026 for us is to make sure that in Pendo, if somebody is doing certain behaviors that we can see in Pendo and they take a course, we would like to measure if their behavior in the product changes as well. Because I think that's the ultimate goal, right? You want to educate people on doing what you would like them to do on your platform. Are they then also actually doing it? And meanwhile, that's like an add-on, meanwhile, you still need to create and maintain the courses that you have.
Yeah, for sure. Marnie, what are your kind of your biggest outcomes for the year? What's your future looking like?
Oh, well, as many of you may know, we've been trying to get Learn Upon Anywhere implemented, and we kind of got stalled out because we had some changes in our product team, unfortunately. So that is my big thing. But I'm building up my resources across multiple departments to get them to help put pressure on product so that they can see how this will help them. Because where we want to eventually be is very similar to what Gwenda's doing, where we have Learn Upon Anywhere. And if a client enrolls themselves in a course directly in our product, then let's use Pendo to measure, did this change their behavior? Did this help them complete the task that they want? Especially because we do have that turnover and we're looking at how do we continue kind of onboarding continuously throughout the client life cycle, because that's not necessarily the same as the user life cycle for us. And so that's my big thing for 2026. I've been trying to push it for a while now, but I think this is the year because I'm been gaining all of my allies so that we can show them, hey guys, this is it. That's and we it's more just because we had so much change in them not understanding quite how it's going to help them. But once their big goal this year is also adoption and measuring it through Pendo. So I just gotta, like I've said in the past, you gotta find the problem and show them how you can help them with it and insert yourself. So that's my next step.
Yeah, love it. Francis, what is Learn Upon's outcomes for this year? I'm curious.
Yeah, we need to have customer education as a driver for scale that I don't think that we have. We've used customer education and we've always put it as a driver um, of revenue. Um, and so we've always thought about it that way, revenue and growth, and related to customer retention, related to feature adoption. But I, starting this year, have really started to look at our customer education tools, our customer academy, our university, our knowledge base, and looking across our human resources. And we need to have our customer education tools in a place that our human teams are seeing direct benefits from it. And there's some re-education that's going to come from that, and to some of Marnie's points about how do we educate our customers about how to use these things. And so it's very meta, but I'm really thinking about sort of a re-education around customer education and how do we reset expectations, not about, hey, you have less human resources, but this is where immediate information is available to you as a Learn Upon user that will help you do things immediately in our platform and make decisions in your platform so that you can move more quickly, and that our human teams are here as your experts and consultants. So it's a scaling driver in ways that it hasn't been before. Um, but I think, and again, sort of the helping our customers scale so that they're able to use new features to grow their own programs within, hours instead of weeks of working through support tickets or working through we're setting up a call next Wednesday. Like, we just need to help our customers and push our customers to move faster.
Yep, you got a big +1 from Megan in the audience. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. I think education is definitely going to be so powerful in driving revenue for businesses. I'm conscious of time and we've only 5 minutes, and I want to round out with one last question, and then I'm going to run a poll. But please, if you have questions, please submit them in the chat or the Q&A box. I would love to get some questions in there for our panelists. But a question for you, and Gwenda, we're going to start with you here. But if someone in the audience is a team of one, buried in one-to-ones right now with the manual task, what is the one manual task, apologies, that they should stop doing today to start their journey towards their onboarding program?
Ooh, that is a great,
Yeah.
that's a that is a great. Um, I think what Marnie said, and we do the same, stop manually enrolling people because that kills your day, that kills your days. So that's one. Um, uh, and I think not being too worried about the enrollment number, but to be more worried about people finishing their courses. So start to completion, if you are at the beginning, I think getting people to want to go to trainings and to really finish them, that is a thing to try to aim for, and to stop the manual enrollments. That is something to definitely stop as per today.
Love it.
Mhm.
Marnie, coming to you next. What's the one task?
Sure. Um, so I would agree that it's enrollments. And I would just kind of give a shout out here. If you are a team of one and you are bogged down, use those CUD fields and use your auto group enrollments. When I first started, and that's exactly where I was, when they logged in, they had to complete their profile, and their profile asked them, what training did you need? And then I used that to auto enroll them into courses that they would need based specifically on that question. So um, that will change your day.
Yep. Frances, have we any last minute advice?
Yeah, the Marnie, you said micro, and again, micro learning is not a new term. Let's not pretend here that we're talking about anything revolutionary. We absolutely are not, far from it, and it's kind of sad we're still talking about it. But um, this is we need to be thinking minutes here, and it still makes me laugh when you hear people talking about micro learning as 30 minutes or less. I'm like, oh no, no, no. And sometimes even internally we do that. Like we need to be thinking minutes here and just wrapping our heads around that is the reality of people have minutes in their day.
Yeah.
And we know that. We all feel that. That doesn't have to, like, it sounds so scary, but we have to be honest, like we know that we have minutes.
Yeah. I think as well, like coming from a professional development, is that you really have to be expertise in some fields right now. There's so much competition and like there's an abundance of courses right out there and our days are long and we've meetings and to get in and to get out and to be certified and to get that one nugget of information that you're going to apply to your next day. I couldn't agree more. So I'm big on micro learning. Thank you to our panelists. I'm going to run a quick poll just around. We mentioned some key features here today and some new things that are coming in Learn Upon, which I'm really excited about. But I want to run a quick poll if you're interested in learning more about these features, if you're interested in a demo here about Learn Upon, or you want to learn more about HubSpot and Learn Upon. Click an option there. We'll reach out to you. I will like to say that Create Plus is one of our new features coming out, and our whole company is excited about it. We haven't stopped talking about it, as you can imagine. So, this is revolutionary, and I really think this is going to be so impactful for those that are in the customer education space and setting up academies and scaling academies. Yeah, so definitely look into that. So I'm going to leave it up for a couple of more seconds just before time. Cool. Okay. Seems like we got a good, nice result. Great. Okay. Well, we're at time. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who took time out of their day to join this webinar. And a big thank you to like Marnie, Gwenda, and Frances. This was such a good discussion. And hopefully we get snippets of this and people can rewatch it. And yeah, we'll be sending a recording.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Equally, thank you so much for
Thanks,
having me.
Laura.
This
Thanks,
was
Marnie.
fun.
Thanks, Gwenda.
Bye.
Thank you.